What's up, everyone? It's James off the cuff here again, and today I'm going to be talking about living in London or London life, essentially. And I want to start off talking about cost of living in London. I've lived in London my whole life, born and raised in Harrow, grew up in Sudbury, grew up in Neasden, Sudbury, Wembley, and now Willesden Green. And I love Willesden Green so much. I was very apprehensive before moving here. I was about 20 years old and I hadn't lived by myself away from my family home ever. So I was very apprehensive, but I really love this area. It's very homely, it's very residential. There's a lot of young families here, but it does feel like home. There's a lot of convenience. I'm very close to Willesden Green, Cricklewood, Brondesbury, and also Kilburn. So it's very easy for me to get to other places within London and about 25 minutes to get to Central, which is really handy when you're running late. However, cost of living in this area, I've been fortunate enough to have bought my flat, but I would say renting in London, ballpark, is about £2,000 on average a month. Some places may include bills with that, but on average, it's about £2,000. You could find cheaper. I know in Willesden Green you can rent a one-bedroom flat for 1,350, and that'll just be a one-bedroom flat, maybe on the first or second floor of a conversion. There's so many different places to buy groceries in London. Um, if you are on a tight budget, Aldi is amazing. Aldi has great options, and I really like their fruit and veg section. There's also Lidl, but I don't actually live. Well, I do live close to Lidl, but it's a bit awkward for me to get to. But Lidl is always a good option if you want to get like basic things such as eggs, pasta, rice, etc., bread. Um, and then there are the slightly more, I would say, quote unquote, premium um, supermarkets that you can go to. So Waitrose or M&S. M&S, which is like my favorite out of all of them because I think in terms of consistency of what you're paying for, the quality of the food that you're getting, mm, M&S just ticks every box for me. And then transport. You can get an Oyster card living in London, but I haven't used my Oyster card probably for about a good, I want to say 6 to 7 years. Since I've had contactless on my mobile phone and I've tapped in and tap out, I think on average, you probably spend, if you're going to be traveling around all of London, maybe about £10 on your travel card, and it is capped once it gets to a certain price. So that's really useful. You make sure you just have your bank card connected to your Apple Pay or to your Android phone, and you're good to go. Although London isn't really equipped, well, in my opinion, London isn't really equipped for bikes, but you can get around from A to B on a bike in London. I've got a bike, but I don't actually ride it on a day to day, but I do ride it to the gym when I need to go to the gym, which is just up the hill on the way to West Hampstead. But we also have Lime bikes and Boris bikes. Lime bikes are now dotted in every neighborhood. Some people find it a bit of a nuisance, but I really appreciate it. If you're running late, you need to get to somewhere, just go on the Uber app on your phone and you scan the bike and you're good to go. A journey of about a mile may cost you maybe, I don't know, ballpark £4, which is pretty good. And then there's also e-scooters, which are good, but I actually never tried an e-scooter before. I'm actually quite scared I'll probably fall off if I go on them, but it's an option. And then, of course, if you live slightly further out, well, if you live in the outer areas of London, let's say, for example, Bromley, Watford, um, Enfield, um, Kingston, even. Although those areas they are well connected into London, central London, should I say? Um, it may be useful for you to have a car. Only because I'd only say that because certain areas just that further out of central London, at certain times of the night, it could be harder for you to get home and vice versa. So maybe having a car is a good option. But personally, I don't drive in London. I passed my test back in, when was this? 20, 2009. I passed, no, 2010, I actually passed. But I've never bought a car in London. The last time I actually drove wasn't actually in this country. It was actually in LA in 2019. So yeah, I do want a car, but I'm not in a rush to get a car. The times when I feel like I want a car in London is when it's really, really cold and need to get to somewhere which isn't that easy to get to using public transport. But other than that, I live in zones 2 to 3. It's pretty easy for me to get anywhere where I am. And for anyone who's unsure about what the zones mean, zone 1 is like center of London, zone 2 is further out, zone 3, 4, 5, and so on. And then there's traditional London culture. So there's loads of places to go and get afternoon tea if you're into that sort of thing. There is pubs. There are pubs on, I don't think you can walk for longer than 10 minutes, even probably even less in some areas before you see a pub. And pubs are great. It's a great place to meet people. And it's also great just get like a quick beer or like a quick bite if you want to catch up with a friend. And then you have the bars and the clubs and the nightlife. I would separate the I would separate the nightlife slash bars into different pockets of London. Um, Growing up, when I was in my early 20s, I used to go out a lot in Brixton. Brixton's also a really good place to go out for daytime. There's Brixton, there's Hackney, there's Shoreditch, which I think has consistently been a place that people can go out to. There's many events that take place there also. And then I would also say Soho, which is like the hub of the nightlife in London. Um, Regardless of what you're into, there's something for everyone in Soho. Regardless of what music you're into, should I say, there's something for everyone in Soho. And you're probably thinking, but how will I know what's going on? How will I know where to go? Where is there to go to on what day? There are different apps that you can get. You can get a Dice app, which is really good for like events, day parties. There's an event called Everyday People that used to be in the US and it brought itself over to the UK and other places in the world. But that's really good for like a day event. Great music, great vibes, great people. And then there's also an app called Design My Night where you can find out about things that are going on, events that you want to go to with just yourself or maybe with a group of friends. And then there's also an app called Shubs, which is really useful as well. It tells you about who's performing in London and again, which night events or day events are going on. It's really good in terms of you keeping you a loop of what to do and just giving you options essentially. And then there's the work life culture, which I would say, depending on what field you're in, um, sometimes it does feel like in London you're just working and working and working and working. And then in between that, you want to make sure that you're also looking after yourself. Then you need to think about when you're going to work out, what gyms to work out. I used to work out between Monday to Friday straight, and that used to work really really well for me. But as I've gotten older, I now kind of need 2 days within the week where I just need a break because my body just feels tired, and when I need to focus at work, um, you will notice between 8 a.m. to maybe 9:30, the tube, trains, buses are going to be quite packed. People going to work, and then the rush hour in the evening, like most main cities, I would say from 3:30 to around 7:30. Those are when the trains and buses are really busy, especially if you're traveling through zone 1 to get to anywhere. Um, it can be very busy, and sometimes going through that hustle and bustle can make you feel quite overwhelmed and drained. By the time you get home, you don't want to feel like you want to do anything but eat and go to bed. But there are many affordable gyms within London. There is gyms such as like Pure Gym, the Gym Group. There's Energy Fitness, which is just around the corner from me. And the price ranges are from anything from £15 if you have like a legacy membership But if you're moving to London, it could be anything from £20, maybe up until 40. And then you have Fitness First, gym boxes, and then if you're really rolling in it, the David Lloyd's. Not quite there just yet, but I'm making my way. And the gym is a great place to meet like-minded people. I mean, you're all there because you want to improve in your fitness and your health, and that means something to you. So the gym that I've been going to, I've been going there for about 10 years, and everyone's so friendly. It's like everyone says hi to everyone. It's actually really nice. And also, London is such a multicultural city now. I don't feel like, as a person of color, being black, I don't feel like I've gone anywhere and felt like other now anyway. Maybe when I was younger, I went to a school not too far from here, but it was mainly Irish. But then there was like pockets of like Asian people, pockets of black people, pockets of um, European people. And maybe back then, I probably did feel like, oh, I wish there was probably more black people in my class. But now, just traveling through London, there's just so many different people. You can jump on one bus and hear five different languages in your journey because there's just such a range and diverse culture in London, which also mirrors the types of foods that you can find in London as well. I think if it's your first time in London, you just want to get a feel about the type of food that we have. It's really good to go to places such as Camden. There's Borough Market, and then there's also Box Park and places such as Shoreditch, Wembley, Croydon. They got really good food options. Some of my favorite restaurants in London are Rosa's Cafe, which is Thai food. They're dotted all around London. There is Basaba Thai, which I really enjoy. I probably used to enjoy it a lot more before because they used to have a dish called the lamb masamam curry. Mm, but they've stopped doing it. But they still do the calamari, which is amazing. And then there's Gauchos if you did want to get like a steak, probably a bit more the pricey side, but you know what you're going to get and you know it's going to be good. And then just in West Hampstead, not too far from me, there's a place called Lola's Bakery that I would highly recommend. It's just such a nice brunch spot to go to on the weekend with some mates or a date. Um, there is like a conservatory part downstairs, which is really nice. The way they designed it, it feels really homely. And the meal probably could be anything from £15 to 35, depending on what you get on the menu. But it's a really good spot to go to get really nice quality brunch and good service. Lola's actually is Lola's Cupcake, but I think they've just opened this bakery in West Hampstead to have like a restaurant, and maybe that's going to expand at some point. But for now, it's close to me, and I'm not complaining. And then in addition to that, you have the Chinatown, which is just in Soho, central London. You can get some really good Indian food in Brick Lane, East Central areas. Um, I I personally think you can probably get the best Caribbean in South London, around Brixton. But there's Caribbean places everywhere around London if you like Caribbean food. But I would say African food, like authentic West African food. I'm half Ghanaian, so the best Ghanaian food I've actually had was in where was it? It was nearby Upton Park, and it was called Auntie Anne's Cafe. I'm not sure if it's still there, but the food's amazing. And then, of course, you have the Enishes, which is like traditional Nigerian food, but just West African food essentially, which is also really good and doesn't break the bank. And then, last but not least, for this video anyway, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to do a part two because there's just so many things to do and see in London, but I'm definitely gonna do a part two. Last but not least for this video is shopping in London. A place that everyone wants to come to see what it's about is Oxford Street, a place that I grew up going to on a weekly basis, being dragged by my sister. I would say Oxford Street's not where it used to be for many reasons. As you know, we're in the era of the death of the high street. So a lot of shops have closed down in Oxford Street. We are starting to get a lot of those like candy stores that are opening up. Um, yeah, there's been some theories about what those candy stores are really about. But to stay on track, um, you still will have your Zara's, your H&M's, your Nike Towns, your Massimo Dutti, um, what else? Your M&S's, your Uniqlo's. In general, Oxford Street it's just nice to walk through, especially during festive periods such as like the winter time and all the lights are up. It's really beautiful to see and walk down. And then from there, you can make your way onto New Bond Street if you've got a lot of cash and you want to spend it. You get all the designer stores such as Prada, Gucci, um, Chanel, Hugo Boss, Ralph Lauren, etc. New Bond Street. But then you can continue walking up through Oxford Street and take a right if you're heading towards Tottenham Court Road. But you take a right, then you go into New Bond Street. Sorry, then you go into Regent Street, which you have a load of stores also, but it's also a very nice scenic walk. There's a Hamleys on there if you've got any kids that want to just explore and see what new toys are out. Hamleys is a great store to walk into for that. Continue going, you can walk up to Piccadilly Circus and cross over Leicester Square and get to Covent Garden, which is a nice, I'd say, a quaint part of central London if you did want to go shopping. There's also a lot of restaurants there as well in Covent Garden. And then, of course, you've got the theatre plays that you could book in advance and go and see. Um, very close to that area, you have Lion King and Tina in theatres at the moment, which is incredible. But if you didn't want to walk outside, if it is too cold, there's also really good shopping centres or shopping malls, whatever you want to call it, such as Westfield. There's one in East London, Stratford, and there's also one in White City. Westfield is massive. If you live in a country where you have a Westfield, Westfield is huge and it pretty much has everything, um, from your high-end stores to your affordable stores such as Primark. And then there's also really good food courts that you can get good food, affordable food, and cinema also. So you have everything all in one space, and it's really great because it's all indoors. So if anyone has kids, they're pushing around a pram, or you just don't like to walk around too much, Westfield Shopping Centre is really good. If you are close to North London, Northwest London, there used to be Brent Cross. Well, there still is Brent Cross. I say it used to be like it died, but since Westfield opened, a lot of people like to go to Westfield instead of Brent Cross. But Brent Cross has a very soft spot in my heart because growing up living in Northwest London, me and my family always used to go to Brent Cross after church. Um, it does have pretty much everything. It does have a Primark, but it has pretty much every other store you can think of. Maybe not too many of the luxury brands, but it has pretty much everything. If you did want to go there, meet up with a friend, grab a coffee, go for dinner, do a little bit of shopping, it pretty much has everything. And there's also a soft play center also. If you've got any toddlers that you want to just keep occupied during the day, it's really good for that as well. And that's mainly it for this video. I'm definitely going to do a part two in terms of things to do in London. If you're thinking of moving to London or just visiting on a holiday, I'm definitely going to do a part two and we will continue this conversation there. If it's your first time here, first time clicking on my video, feel free to subscribe. I'm here every Monday just talking about regular topics, pretty much anything that comes to my mind at this point that I'm interested in, and hopefully other people will be interested in as well. Feel free to hit subscribe, follow on this journey, and we will talk again next week. Take care. Bye for now. Bye.